All right, just another minute or two, then we'll get started. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get things moving. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. My name is Easton Knott, and I am an Assistant Director of Admissions here at WashU. Thank you all for joining us for WashU's Pre-Medicine Day. We are very excited to share with you what makes WashU such a special place, especially when it comes to support for our students interested in being pre-med students during their time at WashU. To give you a quick sense of how this afternoon's programming will work, we're going to start with an information session on WashU. So we're going to cover academics and our university community, as well as admissions, financial aid, and scholarships. Then we're going to follow that with a little bit of time for Q&A. So we'll have some time to answer your questions regarding the WashU community and everything related to it. After this session, we'll have a short 5-minute break, and at 11:50 a.m., we will have a Medicine at WashU presentation with Dr. Greg Politis, Associate Professor of Emergency Medicine and an attending physician in the Charles F. Knight Emergency and Trauma Center. He is also chair of the Central United States Subcommittee of the Washington University School of Medicine's Admissions Committee and creator of WashU's Med Prep courses. We'll have a few minutes at the end of his presentation for questions as well. Then, at the conclusion of Dr. Politis' session, we will take another 5-minute break before starting our student panel at 12:40 p.m., where you will be able to learn more about the pre-med student experience and be able to ask any questions you have for our current students. After the panel, we will have admissions staff on hand to answer any remaining questions you have about WashU. Now, all 3 of these sessions will take place in the same webinar today, so you are welcome to stick around throughout the entire program. If you need to leave at any point, just use the links in your confirmation email to rejoin the webinar. With that, let's go ahead and get started. As I go to share my screen, I've gotten pretty good at using Zoom in my old age here at 30 years old. On your Friday, you could be watching Hamilton for the 17th time like I've been doing. It's pretty addicting, but you decided to spend some time with us, and we really appreciate that. So we want to introduce you to our university, a place that I personally have called home for many, many years as both a student and staff member. And so the first thing we want to tell you about WashU is St. Louis, because we are Washington University in St. Louis, and we're very proud of that fact. So this is a little bit of a truly to scale map of the St. Louis area. St. Louis is such a unique place. It is historic, but it is quickly growing. It is a medium-sized city, just over 3 million people in the greater St. Louis metro area. It has all of the great aspects of a big city when it comes to public transit and restaurants and businesses and sports, but also has the warmth of a small town here in the Midwest. And so our students really love taking advantage of both of those sides of the city and getting to know well over the 4 years at WashU. So to orient you a little bit to where we are, so WashU, that's Brookings Hall right there, that big castle building. Just to our east is Forest Park. It is basically, for lack of a better term, our front yard, and what a front yard it is. It is one of the largest urban parks in the country. It has a number of free things to do, like an art museum, science center, history museum, and zoo. It has jogging and bike trails. It has golf courses. It has paddle boating. It has one of the largest outdoor municipal theaters in the country, just a plethora of activities and places to check out during your time in St. Louis. And quite literally, it is across the street. If you walk from Brookings Hall to the zoo, it'll take you about 15 minutes. And that's a really nice thing to have on a beautiful day. If you head north of campus, you'll hit the Del Mar Loop. The Loop has been named one of the top 10 streets in America, and I'm not entirely sure what the ranking system is or how it works, but I agree with it, so I'm okay with it. The Loop has so many unique places for our students to check out. It has a number of different concert venues, restaurants, places to live, like our Loop Lofts for upperclassmen. And it's just a 10-minute walk from campus. So you'll see a lot of our students hanging out, whether it's getting some barbecue at Salt and Smoke or going to a show at the pageant. You head a little bit further east to the other side of Forest Park, you'll run into the Central West End, cosmopolitan neighborhood of St. Louis. Again, a number of great shops and restaurants there, but also home to our medical campus. This is where you're going to find the Barnes Jewish Hospital, that is our teaching hospital, as well as our medical school. And so for those of you, which I assume is all of you today, that are interested in being pre-med, you'll get to know that area very well during your time at WashU. And then downtown, you have some of the big highlights of St. Louis when it comes to kind of your traditional cityscape. You have, of course, the Gateway Arch, which for those of you that don't know, is a really, really big arch. It is absolutely beautiful. The arch grounds are awesome to go down and see. You can actually go up in the arch in a little elevator to see a beautiful view of St. Louis. I will tell you that the arch is very high up and it sways in the wind, and the elevator is very small. So if you are claustrophobic or afraid of heights, you will end up crying on your way down like I did. But you can still go down to the arch grounds and look at and see how beautiful everything is. I also mentioned the fact that we're a big sports town. The St. Louis Cardinals baseball team is truly the lifeblood of this city. We are so excited to see the Cardinals back playing just in a week or so. Well, most people are. I'm a Cubs fan, so it's a little tough for me. But the Cardinals truly are a huge part of this city. And, of course, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the St. Louis Blues, our hockey team, the 2019 Stanley Cup champions. Very proud of them and excited to see them defend their championship this year. What makes all of this so accessible for our students is our metro system. And we have both a light rail and a bus system here in St. Louis that are incredibly easy to use. The light rail system pretty much just goes straight east, straight west, and not really a lot of crisscrossing when it comes to different lines. And so it's fairly easy to learn. It'll take you all the way out to the airport. It'll take you to the Central West End. It'll take you downtown. And there's 2 train stops on our campus. All of our undergraduate students get a pass for the metro, whether it's the train or the bus, when they first come to campus. They're able to use that whenever they want throughout the academic year. So really able to see how St. Louis benefits them throughout the year just by hopping on that metro. Now let's talk a little bit more about WashU in specifics. So we have 5 undergraduate divisions at the university. We are a medium-sized research institution with just over 7,100 undergraduate students. From largest to smallest, our divisions are the College of Arts and Sciences, followed by the McKelvey School of Engineering, the Olin Business School, and then our Colleges of Art and Architecture. The Colleges of Art and Architecture are actually paired together in our Sam Fox School of Design and Visual Arts, along with our Kemper Art Museum. Now, when you apply to the university, you will apply directly into one of these 5 divisions. They are all first-year entry. So you're starting off as a business student from day one if that's where you're applying to. But you do have the ability to take classes in different divisions. Let's say you are an arts and sciences student who is majoring in biology, but you want to have a second major in computer science, which is going to be in the McKelvey School of Engineering. You can do that. If you want to just take classes in different divisions, you can do that as well. As a history major in the College of Arts and Sciences, I took a number of classes in the business school. I didn't take anything in art because I'm a terrible artist, but it always fascinated me that I could. And so to have that combination is something that we love to see our students do. And the majority of our students will have more than one concentration. So that could be 2 majors, a major and a minor, or some combination of those. Additionally, we see a lot of our students who are really involved in interdisciplinary studies because that's something that we really want to encourage our students to be involved in. So we're seeing more and more of our programming that is actually allowing our students to study 2 things at once within an individual track. So for example, programs like economics and computer science, or our joint program in computer science and business, are options for students to come in and have a more centralized but dual focus, if that makes sense. And we'll talk a little bit more about that interdisciplinary study later on today. Now, who makes up that student body? Well, again, just over 7,100 students. We have around 48% of our students who identify as students of color and international students, with about a 58-42 breakdown public and private high schools, 14% of our student body being Pell Grant eligible as of the class of as of fall 2018, so just over these past few years. Now, these students are coming to study a number of different programs, and they're coming from all over the world and all over the country. So we have all 50 states represented at WashU throughout our undergraduate student body, as well as over 50 countries from around the world. If you add in students, faculty, or excuse me, if you add in graduate students, faculty, and staff, there's over 100 different countries represented. And that's something that's really important to us, that we have students that have different backgrounds, different interests, and different ways of learning, and to treat them as the individuals they are. You'll hear the term name and story a lot at WashU. This was something that was coined a number of years ago by the late Jim McLeod. Dean McLeod was one of our deans at the university. He was the dean of students for a number of years. He was the dean of students when I was in school. And among the many gifts that he left us with was this motto of getting to know every single one of our students by name and story, emphasizing the fact that every single one of our students is an individual. They all have different interests, different ways of learning. We want to make sure that we can meet them where they are. And so our faculty members and our staff members are readily accessible for our students. We have a number of different advisors that our students will have throughout their 4 years. First and foremost being their 4-year academic advisor. We have our 4-year advisors that are actually reaching out to our incoming class right now to start building a relationship, to start working on signing up for classes for the fall, to be a resource for them once they get to WashU. Additionally, you'll have advisors for majors and minors you may declare, for studying abroad, for doing research. You'll have a number of student advisors as well, things like our WUSAs, our Washington University Student Associates. These are upperclassmen that are paired with first-year floors that allow them to be mentored, big brothers, big sisters, to help walk you through the ins and outs of your first year on campus. I loved my WUSAs. They baked cookies a lot, which was great for a 18-year-old football player to be eating cookies all the time. And it's really awesome to have that close relationship with an upperclassman throughout your first year. Additionally, our faculty members are accessible throughout the day. They have office hours throughout the week where they're setting aside time to meet with our students about anything related to their class, about their research, or just about whatever may be on your mind that you want to connect with them with. We also have 11 faculty members that live on our campus. They're called faculty fellows. They live in our residence halls with their families, with their partners, with their dogs. It is awesome to see that connection and to see them hosting events throughout the year, to see them taking groups of students to shows at the Fox Theater. Professor Jeffrey McCune is one of our faculty fellows, and so always cool to see him walking around campus, just like it's always cool to see Jen Smith, the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, walking around campus with her 2 giant dogs that look like fluffy clouds. Dean Smith likes to host dinners for students throughout the year to have different conversations around different topics related to the university, but also just related to the world today. And to see that connection between our faculty, between our deans and our students is really special. It allows our students to really pursue their own paths and to feel like they are supported while they're here. And that's important because we know that you can change your mind when you get to college about what you want to study. And that's okay. You don't have to declare a major till the second semester of your sophomore year. So you have time to figure out what exactly you may want to do. So if you come into college knowing that, hey, I want to study biology, that's my number one thing, but in reality you get here and you realize, actually, I love anthropology. That's where my focus needs to be. That's okay. You have time to figure that out, to switch where you want to go. And allowing our students to find that individual path that fits them best, I think gives them confidence to be themselves, to push themselves further. And so that gives us examples like Grace, who was a recent WashU graduate. She had an internship with Facebook during her time at WashU, and she broke Facebook. And I mean that in the actual sense of breaking the internet and not in the Kim Kardashian sense of breaking the internet. She was working on some programming and decided to try something out. Didn't work. Facebook was down for a number of seconds. It was something that in my mind I would have panicked and packed up my desk and walked out the door because I knew I was going to be fired. But for her supervisors actually commended her for trying something new. Obviously, they would have loved it to work out better, but they realized that in order to innovate, you must try new things, and those new things may not always work. And so that's the type of mentality that we want our students to have throughout their time, both on our campus, but also when they leave our campus and go on into their lives. And a lot of that kind of mental activity, that pursuit of knowledge, that creation of knowledge is fostered in the classroom. We have an active learning environment. We want our students to be doing, to create knowledge while they're in class, not simply sit in a lecture every single day. And so most of our classes are smaller. Our average class size is about 26 students, with about 76% of our classes having fewer than 30 students within that. Now, we do have about 1 to 2% of our courses that are between 150 and 300 students. But in my experience, any class that had more than 40 students in it is going to have some type of subsection or breakout section that meets once a week, once every 2 weeks, capped at about 15 to 20 students, sometimes smaller than that, 10 or 5, allowing you to ask questions of your faculty members, to get to know them better, to really, again, make those breakthroughs on your own and not just be sitting in that back of the lecture hall at all times. This happens in all of our courses across all of our different divisions, and that's over 1,500 different courses across 90 fields of study. So there's so many different things that you could be learning here at WashU, and you know that you're working with some of the best and brightest. 24 of our faculty members have been historically Nobel laureates that have been affiliated with WashU, and 64 have been honored by the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. So something that we've always prided ourselves in throughout our history is making sure that our students are meeting and learning with some of the best and brightest minds from all over the world. Now, in that first year you get here, the transition to college learning is a big one, and we want to make sure that we can help you along that path as easily as we can, but also give you access to all the big stuff that WashU has to offer from your first year. And so I talked a little bit about that interdisciplinary learning earlier, and where you see a lot of that coming through in the first year is through our ampersand programs. So the ampersand, of course, is that fancy looking and symbol, is really I think it's the official, if not, it's the unofficial logo of our College of Arts and Sciences. They really believe in that interdisciplinary nature of our studies. And so these are first-year programs, usually capped at a small number between 35 and 45 students. They are at least a year long. Sometimes they can be 4 years long, but usually somewhere in between those two. They're going to have some type of field work, research, or internship, or study abroad attached to them. They're going to be co-taught by multiple faculty members from multiple fields. So looking at medicine and society, for example, that is a program that is looking at medical anthropology, that's co-taught by faculty from both our medical school as well as our anthropology program. You have a program like Literary Culture of Modern Ireland, where you have students that are studying both the history of Ireland, but also Irish writers in order to understand better the writing that they're learning with that history background. Then at the end of the year, they're taking a trip to Ireland for a week or so to get to see all of these things they've learned about throughout the year. So we love seeing our students get involved in programs like that. But we also love seeing our students just diving deeper into some of the topics that we can offer them through our first-year seminars. So first-year seminars, again, are smaller, 15 to 20 student courses that are taught in a more higher level, 300 to 400 level type course way, but designed just for you as a first-year student. And I know that was something that was really important to me. I was incredibly shy going into college. Still am fairly shy, which is why this job is the perfect choice for me. But I wasn't necessarily comfortable speaking in a class, and that is a huge part of being in college. And so my first year, taking a first-year seminar called Saints in Society, where I was able to be in a group of truly my peers, all other first-year students that were going through this at the same time, really enabled me to feel more comfortable speaking up, to say new things, and to have that confidence moving forward as I went through the rest of my 4 years. So we really, really want to be able to instill that in our students from day one. Additionally, we know that the learning environment doesn't end when you leave the classroom, and so we have so many opportunities for our students to stay involved. There are, first of all, study abroad programs across the university. We have at least one study abroad program for every single one of our majors at the university. There's over 100 different programs, go to over 50 countries, and they're all for WashU credit. So it doesn't matter where you're going to be getting WashU credit. You're going to be able to study in your chosen discipline while you're there. Over 40% of our students do study abroad. You can have some really cool opportunities as well to do internships and research while you're there. One of my friends in college did a semester at the London School of Economics and then stayed over the summer for a marketing internship with Manchester United Football Club, which is an awesome experience and one that we've seen a lot of our students go into because one of the principal owners of Manchester United is a WashU alum. So it's an awesome pipeline to have there. Another way that we see our students taking that extra step is through research. So we are a Tier 1 research institution. So all of our faculty members are active researchers in their fields across the university, and our students are really encouraged to get involved with their research. And so we see many of our students going directly to faculty members themselves to ask questions and to get involved, but also we see them utilizing our Office of Undergraduate Research. This is a resource that students can use from their first day on campus throughout graduation to connect with faculty, to learn about the different opportunities both on campus and elsewhere throughout the world that we're connected to dive deeper in some of the topics that they love most. If you happen to be doing research over the summer, that is an unpaid program. We can help you with a stipend to pay for your living expenses. We want to make sure that research is something that's accessible for all of our students, no matter what interest they may have. If you're thinking about starting a business, WashU is also a great place to be. We have a number of student-owned and operated businesses on our campus through our STEP program, our student entrepreneurial program. Things like Berry Sweet Shop, which is a candy store, Bear Bikes, WashU Wash, all these little places that you could expect to use on any given day are actually housed on the South 40, our main residential area for our first and second year students. And they're owned and operated by students. So a really cool opportunity to become an entrepreneur. And that's something you can do no matter what major you may be interested in. And the last thing, but definitely I think the first thing on our students' minds, is being involved in the St. Louis community. The majority of our student body is drawn to service work in some way, shape, or form. And so that could be something that is coming through a large event on campus, like Relay for Life or Dance Marathon. It could be a smaller group like Books and Basketball that goes to local schools to tutor students after school, but play basketball with them also. It could be working through our Campus Y or through our Gephardt Institute. So many different opportunities, and we see our students really taking advantage of that. We have students from, again, all over the globe, but they really do come to call St. Louis home, and they're very much attached to that place, and making sure that we can give back and leave it better than we found it is something that I think all WashU students share that common goal. Outside of just those opportunities, though, our students will always be involved. There's one thing that I can definitely say to you as a WashU student, is you will not be bored. We have over 400 different student groups. Really anything you can think of, you can find it at WashU. There are your kind of typical collegiate opportunities, any type of political, religious, cultural, identity, or affinity-based group is represented on our campus. We have a large and vibrant performing arts department. We have 13 a cappella groups, including one that only sings Disney songs, which is awesome. We have 12 different dance groups. We have just so many things to do. We also have a lot of things that you may have never expected to see on a college campus. For example, we have a butter churning club. It's called Woo Churn, WashU's premier butter churning society. So if you are looking for the opportunity to be connected with a top flight research program and medical school, to live in the Midwest and also churn butter, WashU is pretty much going to be your only spot. So I'm really excited to welcome you to the class of 2025. But that's the type of place that we are. You come here and you connect with other students and you find the interesting things that you like to do. I always like to think that WashU students are all a little weird, and we kind of love that, and we embrace it. When I was a student, my friends and I decided to start the Disney Movie Appreciation Club. So we got funding to buy Disney movies. And if you picture about 50 football players in a room watching Mulan and singing every single song very loudly and off key, that was my sophomore year of college. And I absolutely love those memories because they were so unique to us and what we were able to experience here at WashU. That, of course, is a perfect segue to our athletics program. We are a Division III athletics program in the NCAA. We have been one of the top performing programs over the last few decades, winning 23 national championships, including at least one national title every single year that I was in school, which was really cool. We not only lead on the field, but off the field as well, perennially being in the top 10 in academic All-Americans throughout the country and throughout all NCAA divisions. As a student athlete myself for 4 years, it was an incredible experience, and I really loved the fact that we were student athletes in the truest sense. We have 35 different club sports as well that travel all throughout the country. We have intramural sports that a lot of our students are involved in, about 75, 80%. So definitely a very active campus in a number of ways. We have a number of big traditions on campus as well, things like 13 Carnival that's hosted every year, the largest and oldest student-run carnival in the country. We also have WILD. It stands for Walk In, Lay Down. It's our biannual concert, free for students. Spring Wild is usually the last day of classes in spring semester, so it's always a fun thing to look forward to. We have had Chance the Rapper, Childish Gambino, All-American Rejects, Carly Rae Jepsen play here in the last few years, so always an exciting date on the calendar to be looking out for. When it comes to career services, this is something that I think we take a lot of pride in, making sure our students feel prepared for what comes next. And so you have the ability to meet with career advisors one-on-one, whether it's just looking for different career options, if it is trying to figure out how to build a resume or a cover letter. If you are interested in a pre-professional area, as I assume many of you are, so that could be pre-med, occupational physical therapy, dentistry, veterinary medicine. We also have pre-professional advising available to you. These are advisors to help make sure that you're on track to graduate with the courses that you need to prepare yourself for any of those areas that you're going into, to help you with preparation for any of the exams you may need to take, whether that's the MCAT, the GRE, anything in between, and also to help with the application process. It's something that's very important, and Dr. Politis will talk a little bit more about kind of what our pre-med advising program looks like later on, but it is something that we really do believe in at the university. We also love taking our students throughout the country, building their network on what are called road shows. So that picture on the bottom right is actually one of our road shows out to the Google offices in California, where we connect our students both with alumni and with recruiters that are working at these companies to build their network and to get them a little bit more knowledge on where they're going and what they may be doing in the future. So this is a look at some of the companies that our graduates have been frequently drawn to over the last few years. Definitely not an exhaustive list, but just a few of them there. About 3/4 of our students do go directly into the workforce upon graduation, and about that remaining 23% or so will go directly into graduate school. So a nice mix there of those two areas. Now, we've talked a lot about the future, way in the future. Let's refocus ourselves on the now. We talked about name and story earlier, and this is something that we don't just want to introduce to you as a current student. We also want to introduce to you as a prospective student. When you're applying to college, your application is not just going to be test scores or grades, it's going to be who you are. We take a holistic approach to admissions because we want to get to know who you are and what type of person you're going to be in our community. That's something that's really important to us. So we do want to do our best to get to know you by name and story from the first time we interact with you. So as we look at the entire process, the first thing that I want to touch on is the financial aid and scholarships process at WashU. So with financial aid, we do meet 100% of demonstrated financial need for all admitted students, and we offer a no loan policy for any student whose family makes $75,000 or less per year. Our Student Financial Services Office has a motto of make a friend in SFS, and they mean that. They are wonderful, wonderful people. They are incredibly nice. They are resources for you as we go through this process. We need 2 forms for you when you apply for financial aid. The first is going to be the CSS profile. And the second is going to be the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. If you need help with filling these out, if you need to make sure that you're doing them on time and correctly, if you just want to see an estimate of what you could expect to receive from us in financial aid, talk to one of our financial aid officers, whether it's via email or on the phone. They are resources for you as you go through this. We'll definitely encourage you to be in contact with them. Again, that website there, sfs.wusu.edu, is going to be your first stop in making those connections. So really encourage you all to go to that website at some point. We also offer merit-based scholarships. So we have 2 different types of scholarships. Firstly, we have scholarships attached to our academic divisions. You don't need to do anything extra. When you apply to the university, you're automatically going to be considered for these scholarship programs. We also have 3 Signature Scholars programs, the Danforth, Rodriguez, and Urban Scholars programs. These Signature Scholars programs do require separate applications. They're due by January 2nd. In order to apply to those programs, you must first apply to the university. Once you do that, then you'll have access to the scholarship applications themselves. Every scholarship program we offer, whether it's a divisional scholarship or a signature scholarship, will have a mix of full and partial tuition scholarships within it. They will vary in size. Some may be 1 or 2 scholarships per year. Some may be a much higher number. It just depends on the program. So I encourage you again to hop onto the admissions website to learn a little bit more about the individual programs, what they're looking for, and how many scholarships they may be giving out per year. This is a quick snapshot of our entering class from the fall of 2019. We had just over 25,000 applications for a class of around 1,700. Middle 50% on the SATs, 1480 to 1550, ACTs at 33 to 35, and these are both super score. So students can retest as many times as you would like, and then submit all those scores to us. We will recalculate a new composite score for you. Usually that ends up being a higher composite than any individual test, so retesting is always fine by us. So here's the application process in a nutshell. So there's a lot of things on here. I'm going to try and walk through them as best as we can. So there are 3 applications that we accept. We will accept the common application, the coalition application, and we are also part of the QuestBridge match program, so you're able to apply through QuestBridge. We have no preference with these applications. Fill out whichever one you like best and go with it. There are 4 different deadlines, 4 different ways to apply. So if you're applying for the QuestBridge match, November 1st is your deadline. If you're applying early decision 1, November 1st is also your deadline. Early decision 2 and regular decision applicants, January 2nd is your deadline. Now, early decision 1 and early decision 2 are binding. What that means is that if you apply early decision 1 or 2 and you are admitted, we will ask that you would withdraw any applications that you have at any other schools, commit to WashU, and you'll also get a t-shirt. So you get a free t-shirt, you got into college, it's a pretty good day. So that means if you know that WashU is your #1 choice, this is where you want to go tomorrow if you could, early decision is always a great opportunity. There is no difference in the application process between early decision or regular decision. We're looking for the same type of student. Similarly, there's no difference between early decision 1 and early decision 2 outside of the deadlines. Again, the same type of student is what we're looking for no matter what deadline you're applying. Now, the 5 parts to your application. First and foremost, your transcript. All 4 years, all the grades that you've earned, the classes you've chosen to take. Now, we look at you in the context of your school. We know that every single school is different in what they can offer you. And so we're only going to look at what you could have taken, what you decided to take, and how you did. It's important to note that obviously COVID-19 has definitely changed a lot in our lives, but also in our academic offerings and what our students have had to change about their junior years, especially going into their senior year, or for you younger students as well. We understand that. So any changes, whether it's pass-fail grades or classes that had to be moved, will not impact your application whatsoever. Do not worry about those. We have processes in place in order to kind of change our way of going through the application process so we can do our review on our end. So don't worry about that. Anything that had to be changed on your end is not your fault. It is not going to be an issue for you as you apply. When we are looking at transcripts, for those of you that are interested in pre-med, we're going to be focusing on things like math and science. So calculus and physics are important classes for us when it comes to evaluating your transcript. When it comes to test scores, as I said earlier, we will take either the ACT or SAT. No, it does not matter to us. We will super score. We do not need the ACT or SAT writing. We also don't need SAT subject tests, totally optional. We are also test optional for this year. So for the upcoming application cycle, you do not need to submit test scores if you do not feel like your test scores are up to where you see yourself academically, or if you were not able to take the test, that is totally okay. You do not need to submit test scores in order to apply to the university. You can still be able to be admitted. You are still able to get scholarships, everything as a test optional student. With letters of rec, we need 2, one from a counselor, one from a teacher. Teacher should be a core class, so math, science, English, foreign language, or history. If you want to send us more, feel free. We always love to hear more about you. So another teacher, boss, mentor, or coach is always great. But do remember that quality is better than quantity, right? There's only so many positive adjectives in the English language. So don't feel like you need to send us 20 letters of recommendation. Focus on making sure that we get the best out of whomever you may ask, and really focus in on those people. When it comes to extracurriculars, anything you do outside of eating, sleeping, and going to class, unless you're in an eating or sleeping club, because that's awesome and I want to learn all about it and probably join it as well. It does not matter what you're involved in, it matters that you're involved. WashU students do a lot of different things, whether it's singing or churning butter. And so we're looking for high school students that are doing a lot of different things or doing one thing very passionately. It doesn't matter. As long as I can sit down and talk with you and you can speak about what you're involved in with some energy, that means that you're a WashU student. Additionally, again, with COVID-19 changing so many things about our lives, if your extracurriculars have had to drop out because, well, you haven't been able to go to them, your season got canceled, whatever it was, it's not going to be a penalty in this process, so don't worry about it. The last piece are essays. We have 2 essays that are a part of the application. One is the general Common App Personal Statement or Coalition App Personal Statement. The other one is a supplemental essay. So our supplemental essay asks pretty much for you to talk about what you want to study and why. So we encourage you to look at what your intended major is going to be and tell us why you are interested in that, where you see yourself going with it, what kind of piqued your interest in your intellectual curiosity. When it comes to the general essay, you have to remember, again, we're trying to get to know that name and story piece. So tell us a story about yourself. And I do mean this. There is no perfect essay, but there are so many different good, great essays. Essays that are serious and emotional, essays that are funny, essays that are about anything in the world, as long as at the end of the day, they're about you. Transcripts and test scores, however amazing they may be, are not necessarily unique to you. If you have a 35 in the ACT, that is great, but somebody else does too. And so when my colleagues and I get to our committee process and we sit down in a room and we're talking about students, there's going to be no point where I'm going to say, hey, everybody, look at this test score. Got to admit this student because of this test score. There is going to be a time where I'm going to say, folks, we need to all read this essay because this is a student that we want in our community. Again, it's not just about bringing students in to a school. It's about building a community full of people that are going to leave a lasting impact. And so for us to get to know you better allows us to advocate for you better. So really take that time in your essay to let us get to know you. And again, more information at our admissions website. We do also have a transfer application process. So for those of you that may be looking to transfer to WashU down the road, we do accept transfer applications in the spring, with that deadline being March 1st. Slightly different deadline, but there is a process there and some courses that we may be looking for. And again, the admissions website is our best bet for that. Whew. All right, a lot of me talking. Let's hear from all of you. So, time to answer some questions. So, first question, what is the process for students who are interested in switching divisions at WashU? So, we generally ask students to stay in their intended division for their first semester. After that, you're able to go through a process of applying to switch divisions. Now, what this looks like is going to be a little bit different from division to division. The key is that we want to make sure that any students that are switching divisions will be able to graduate in 4 years. And every single division has different graduation requirements within them. And so students that are switching early and are in good academic standing generally will have a good chance of switching divisions. But if you are a second semester junior looking to move from engineering into art and you've never taken an art class, it's going to be a little bit difficult for that to happen. And so we want to make sure that you know where you are in that process. So I always encourage our students to talk with your four-year advisor. They're the best person to kind of introduce that topic of, hey, I may have multiple interests here. What's the best way for me to start to pursue that? And you can start building towards that switch, maybe taking a couple classes in the business school to figure out if you like business before you move into it. All right, our next question. Hold on one second. I'm going to stop our screen share. Hey, I'm back. Our next question is, will WashU be admitting students into the University Scholars Program in Medicine for the class of 2025? So this is a very popular question. So the University Scholars Program in Medicine is being phased out after the current group of scholars moves on to medical school. So therefore, it is no longer going to be possible to apply for the program. So beginning with your class, or for those of you that are in the class entering fall of 2021, if you're interested in a career in health sciences, you should select your major and an interest in pre-health studies, much like all of our other students go through the process now. So admitted students, you will learn more about the advising program and how to make best use of this when you get to WashU, but also you're going to learn a lot more about it today from our wonderful Dr. Pelaez. Next question. Does WashU track demonstrated interest? Yes, we do track demonstrated interest as we go through this process. Obviously, that's going to look very different as we go through this year because the ability to visit, both on our end and on your end, is very different. But we do track students in how they come to know about WashU and the events that they attend. So I encourage you to attend something that you're interested in. You're here today because you may have been interested in pre-med. And so we want you to, if you see something that is a webinar on student life or a webinar on writing an essay that is of interest to you, go for it and attend it. We really encourage you on that end to be involved. How are pre-med students at WashU able to explore academic interests other than medicine? Wonderful question. So pre-med, just like all of our other pre-professional areas, are tracks. They are not necessarily majors at WashU. So students have a lot of flexibility in their curriculum to kind of pick and choose what they want to take in order to complement that. So many of our pre-med students will end up being biology majors, biochemistry, biomedical engineering, because a lot of those courses overlap. But we will also have pre-med majors that are on the total opposite. One of my best friends in school was a political science and American culture studies double major who was pre-med. And he has graduated from WashU Medical School now. So there are a lot of abilities to kind of balance whatever you want to do. It just depends on what you're interested in. It's not always going to be possible. It's going to be difficult for somebody who's an architecture student, let's say, to have a second major in another school and be pre-med all at once. But there are going to be instances where it happens. So we have students that have majored in majored in fashion design that have been pre-med. It happens. So we encourage you to have multiple interests. What is the most important component of a student's application? Great question, one that we see a lot of. There isn't one component that's more important than the other. I think the most important component to a student's application is the student. It's getting to know who you are, and that comes through the classes you've taken and your academic abilities. That comes through what other people have to say about you. That comes through what you're involved in. That comes through what you say about yourself. And so there's not one component that's more important than the other. They all work together in kind of building your application, letting us know who you are. Will students from all rounds be considered for merit scholarships? Yes. Every round of decision, whether it's early decision 1, 2, or regular decision, Quest Bridge application, doesn't matter. Every single student is going to be considered for merit scholarships. That's why that deadline for merit scholarships isn't until January 2nd. So it's a little bit later on. That way we can consider all of our applications to the university all at once. And our last question before we hop on a quick 5-minute break. Does WashU award credit for AP and IB courses, including for exams taken in the spring of 2020? And is there a limit on the amount of credit you can earn in high school? So the answer to all of this is yes. So we do grant credit for AP and IB exams, including the spring of 2020. So if you took an exam in spring of 2020, it was modified in some way, that is okay. You are still going to be able to receive credit from us. How this credit is awarded just depends on the scores, right? So scores of a 4 or 5 on an AP exam, 6 or a 7 on an IB exam will usually get you credit. It just depends on the course, the score, and what you may be interested in studying. So for example, students that get a 5 on BC Calc may get 6 credits and be placed in the Calc 3. But if you are a pre-med student and you take chemistry in high school and you get a great score in your chemistry exam, you're still going to have to take chemistry at WashU. That is going to be a general chemistry at WashU. It is going to be a requirement. There is a limit, though, on the amount of pre-matriculation credit that you can earn in high school. So pre-matriculation credit could be AP or IB exam scores. It could also be credit that you've received from taking college coursework as an undergraduate. Let's say you took a class at your local community college or online, or excuse me, well, I guess technically right now online, or at your local university over the summer. You can receive up to 15 credits, so it's about a full semester's worth of credit from all of those different areas before you get to WashU. And there's a full list of all of these policies on the different colleges' website. So the College of Arts and Sciences is a pretty substantial list. So if you hop on their website, it's really easy to find. School of Engineering also has a list that you can see kind of what the breakdown is class to class. Awesome. So those are the questions that we have for now, but don't fret. You'll still have many more opportunities to ask questions and to learn a little bit more. So thank you for the great questions that we had so far, though. Really appreciated spending this time with all of you. At this point, we're going to take a short 5-minute break so Dr. Politis can join us for the next panel. We'll get started at just at 11:50 a.m., so it gives you plenty of time. You can listen to What Did I Miss, my personal favorite from Hamilton. Again, I'm really on a Hamilton kick. I apologize for that. But thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you again in just 5 minutes.